The Nazi beast experiment. What if I told you that deep within a European forest, there's evidence of one of history's most twisted scientific experiments? An operation so bizarre, so utterly mental, that it sounds like something straight out of a horror film. But here's the thing, it actually happened. Picture this. Elite scientists working under the Third Reich, desperately trying to bring back creatures that had been extinct for nearly 10,000 years. Not dinosaurs, mind you, but something far more sinister. Ancient beasts that they believed their so-called superior race should be hunting in mystical German forests. This isn't some mad scientist fiction, this is real. And the story I am about to tell you connects animal experimentation with some of the darkest chapters of human history in ways that will absolutely blow your mind. You see, hidden away in what was once Poland, there's a forest that holds secrets the Nazis never wanted the world to discover. A place where their obsession with racial purity didn't just target humans, but extended to recreating an entire prehistoric ecosystem. They called it their master plan, and they were prepared to commit genocide to make it happen. Now, I know what you're thinking. How on earth does bringing back extinct animals connect to the Holocaust? Well, buckle up, because what I am about to reveal will change everything you thought you knew about Nazi ideology and their terrifying vision for the future. Let me take you back to July 1941. The war is raging across Europe, and a particularly notorious police battalion receives orders that would chill you to the bone. Battalion 322 of the order, police is told to clear an entire forest of every single human being living there. Every man, woman, and child. Execute anyone who resists. Burn their villages to the ground. But why? Why would the Nazis want to completely empty a forest in the middle of nowhere? The answer lies with one of the most powerful men in Hitler's inner circle, Hermann Göring, Hitler's deputy, commander of the Luftwaffe, and Germany's self-appointed master of the hunt. This bloke had his sights set on something that would make your skin crawl. The forest in question was Bia, a stretching across what is now the border between Poland and Belarus. To you and me, it might just look like trees and wildlife. But to the Nazis, this was sacred ground. They believed it was the original homeland of their mythical Aryan ancestors. The place where the pure German race had first emerged from the wilderness thousands of years ago. Here's where it gets properly mental. Göring didn't just want to clear out the humans. He wanted to repopulate this forest with creatures that hadn't walked the earth since the Stone Age. And he had just the man to help him do it. Enter Dr. Lutz Heck, zoologist, SS member, and quite possibly one of history's most deranged animal breeders. Along with his brother Heinz, Lutz had been working on what can only be described as biological time travel. They were trying to reverse thousands of years of evolution to bring back the auroch, the massive, aggressive, wild ancestor of modern cattle. Now, you might be wondering, what's so special about some ancient cows? Well, according to Julius Caesar himself, aurochs were not much smaller than elephants, extraordinary in size and strength, sparing neither man nor wild beast. These weren't your average farm animals. These were 7-foot-tall killing machines with forward-pointing horns and a temperament that would make a bull terrier look like a poodle. The Heck brothers were absolutely obsessed with Germanic mythology, particularly the legend of Siegfried, the mighty warrior who battled these prehistoric beasts in the primeval forests. They genuinely believed that by bringing back these creatures, they could recreate the ancient hunting grounds where their supposed Aryan ancestors had forged their racial superiority. But here's the thing that makes this story so deeply disturbing. The same ideology that drove them to breed these pure, animals was exactly the same twisted logic they applied to human beings. If they could selectively breed backwards to create the perfect aurak, why not do the same with people? The Heck brothers scoured Europe looking for cattle with the right characteristics. Wild bulls from Corsica, muscular beasts from southern France, fighting bulls from Spain, Highland cattle from Scotland. They were creating a genetic cocktail, desperately trying to reverse domestication and bring back the savage nature they believed had been bred out of modern animals. Sound familiar? It should, because at exactly the same time, the Nazis were implementing their horrific eugenics programs, deciding which humans were genetically pure enough to breed and which should be eliminated entirely. The connection isn't coincidental. Lutz Heck became a paying member of the SS and struck up a cozy relationship with Gring himself. While the rest of the world was fighting a war, these lunatics were planning their post-victory paradise, a vast Germanic forest populated by recreated prehistoric beasts, cleared of all undesirable human inhabitants. And here's what really gets me. In 1937, 2 full years before the war even started, there's photographic evidence of Gring and Heck examining a detailed model of the Bioega forest. They were already planning to seize this Polish territory and turn it into their twisted vision of an ancient German hunting reserve. When the war finally did break out, their plans kicked into overdrive. As soon as the Germans occupied eastern Poland, Battalion 322 began their systematic clearing operation. The war diary, which still exists today, is absolutely chilling in its matter-of-fact description of the atrocities. Between July 25th and August 1st, 1941, they burned down 34 villages and expelled over 7,000 people. The photograph I mentioned earlier, taken during the burning of the village of Budka, shows the complete devastation. 183 families, nearly 1,000 people, deported or murdered. All so that Heck's experimental animals could have their prehistoric playground. But the ethnic cleansing of Bioega wasn't just about making room for wild animals. This forest became one of the very first testing grounds for what would eventually become the final solution. The Jewish communities that had lived there since the 18th century were completely eradicated within weeks. The SS called it Judenfrei, free of Jews. Meanwhile, Lutz Heck was having the time of his life, completely oblivious to the human suffering his project was causing. He was busy looting animals from zoos across conquered Europe to improve his breeding programs. The Warsaw Zoo, for instance, was systematically stripped of its valuable animals while Jewish families hid in the basement, listening for piano signals that warned them of danger upstairs. In 1938, after 14 years of this demented breeding experiment, Heck finally transported his recreated aurochs to Gring's hunting estate. The results were, well, let's just say they weren't quite what he'd hoped for. Rather than noble prehistoric beasts, he'd created violent, unpredictable animals that attacked anyone who came near them. They terrorized local cyclists, disrupted the feeding of other wildlife, and generally made the forest unsafe for anyone except the most heavily armed hunters. But Heck was delighted. In his twisted mind, this aggressive behavior proved he'd successfully recreated the savage spirit of the ancient aura. Never mind that local people could no longer safely enter their own forests. When the Germans finally seized Bioega in 1941, these experimental animals were transported to their ultimate destination, the ethnically cleansed forest that was to become the new Germania. Heck established what was essentially a prehistoric theme park, complete with bears, bison, wild horses, and his pride and joy. They recreated Aura. The irony is absolutely staggering. While Heck was celebrating the birth of new calves in his pure herd, German troops were hunting down the last surviving Jews and partisans in the same forest. The war diary records show them killing people with the same detached efficiency they might use to cull deer. One particularly chilling entry from March 1943 describes Corporal Rudolf Treiber leading a hunting patrol, their term for murdering civilians. They crept up on a group of partisans around a campfire and opened fire, killing 5 people, including a woman. If the victims happened to be Jewish, they didn't even bother burying them, leaving the bodies as a warning to others. After a day of what they euphemistically called forest clearance, the German troops would gather for cozy get-togethers with free beer rations. The casual brutality is absolutely. The forest that was supposed to provide sanctuary for Hecke's precious animals also provided perfect cover for resistance fighters. For 3 years, German forces never gained full control of Bioega, constantly battling partisans who knew every tree and path in their homeland. As the war turned against Germany and Soviet forces pushed westward, the Nazi dreams of a prehistoric paradise crumbled. Berlin was bombed to rubble, destroying Heck's breeding facilities. His precious aurochs in Bioega simply vanished, possibly eaten by hungry soldiers or deliberately slaughtered by partisans who saw them as symbols of Nazi occupation. Hermann Göring was captured in 1945 and committed suicide during the Nuremberg trials. The full extent of the massacres in Bioega remained hidden until after his death. Lutz Heck, incredibly, was investigated after the war but cleared as a mere follower rather than a war criminal. He and his brother continued their careers as respectable zoologists, dying peacefully in the early 1980s. But here's the really mad bit. The descendants of Heck's cattle are still alive today. They're called Heck cattle now, to distinguish them from the original aurochs, and some people even call them Hitler's cows because of their Nazi origins. They do look remarkably similar to ancient descriptions of aurochs, the distinctive eel stripe down their backs, the forward-pointing horns, the aggressive temperament. Yet, geneticists will tell you they're no closer to the original aurochs than any other domestic cattle. The Heck brothers essentially created a convincing fake, changing the external packaging while the internal genetics remained fundamentally unchanged. It's like trying to recreate a Ferrari by modifying a Ford Fiesta. You might make it look the part, but under the bonnet, it's still just a Fiesta. The Bioega forest still exists today, now shared between Poland and Belarus as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It remains one of Europe's last primeval forests, home to the largest population of European bison and countless other rare species. The forest that the Nazis wanted to turn into their racial fantasy has become a symbol of international cooperation and conservation. But the legacy of what happened there serves as a chilling reminder of what occurs when scientific ambition becomes entangled with racial ideology. The same romantic mythology that inspired the Heck brothers to recreate extinct animals also fueled the Nazi obsession with racial purity that led to the Holocaust. It's a perfect example of what happens when biology and politics become the same thing. A mistake that polluted both human genetics and animal breeding for decades afterward. The Nazis believed they could engineer their way to perfection, whether with animals or humans, and the results were catastrophic in both cases. Today, genuine scientists are using DNA extracted from ancient auroch bones to potentially clone real aurochs. Not the Nazi knockoffs, but the actual prehistoric animals that once roamed European forests. The technology exists now to do what the Heck brothers only dreamed of, but hopefully with rather different motivations. The story of the Nazi beast experiment is ultimately a tale about the danger of letting ideology override science, of allowing romantic myths to justify horrific realities. In their obsession with recreating a mythical past, the Nazis created a nightmarish present that cost millions of human lives. The next time you see a Highland cow or visit a nature reserve, Remember that conservation and breeding programs can be forces for tremendous good in our world, but they can also be twisted into instruments of hate and genocide when placed in the wrong hands. The forests of Biowiega have long since healed from the wounds inflicted during those dark years. The trees have grown back, wildlife has returned, and new generations have made it their home. But the history remains, carved into the very landscape, reminding us of humanity's capacity for both creation and destruction. What do you think about this incredible story? Did you know that the Nazis had such elaborate plans for reshaping nature itself? And what does it tell us about the connections between environmental policy and political ideology? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If this story has blown your mind as much as it did mine, smash that like button and subscribe for more incredible historical revelations that you definitely won't find in your average history textbook. The past is full of secrets waiting to be uncovered, and some of them are far stranger and more disturbing than anything Hollywood could dream up. Until next time, keep questioning everything you think you know about history. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!